Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Inshallah, we'll be starting our weekly Tafseer session. I request everyone to move up, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه مباركا عليه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى جل جلاله وعم نواله والصلاة والسلام على سيد الحبيب المصطفى وعلى آله وأصحابه نجوم الهدى قادة التقى أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم صل على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد النبي الامي وعلى اله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا ولا أعصي لك أمرا قال فإن اتبعتني فلا تسألني عن شيء حتى أحدث لك منه ذكرا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Alhamdulillah, brothers, in our previous session we discussed regarding the interaction in between Musa alayhi salatu wassalam and Khadr alayhi salam. And this interaction that took place stemmed from a statement of Musa alayhi salam, in which when he was asked by one of his community members, or whether it was by his congregation, that who possesses the most amount of knowledge? And Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, in reply to this, said, Ana, I do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through His infinite way of, and His infinite wisdom, and His cosmic reasoning, and His love for His chosen ones, explained to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, not directly, but rather through an experience which made him understand the statement that he made. And the statement that he made was incorrect. The statement which Musa alayhi salatu wasalam made was incorrect, because all knowledge goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All knowledge goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And we learn this through the story of Khadr alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam. When Khadr alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam were actually upon that ship which was transporting them from point A to point B, wherever they were going, there was a bird that sat on the edge of the ship, right, or one of the railings, more towards before the water starts. And when it dipped its beak or pecked at the water, Khadr alayhi salam made a statement. And this statement was that the amount of water that was taken into the beak of this bird is the exact amount of knowledge that you and I have when in comparison to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is like that of the ocean, and the small amount of knowledge we have is like that of the water that was in the beak of that bird. Is that amount of water that is in the beak of that bird. So we can just see how immense Allah's knowledge is compared to what we have. Now remember, these were no ordinary people. These were no ordinary individuals. These were the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So imagine if that was their case, imagine where we stand. And through the ayat of the Quran al-Kareem, for example, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam said, لا أبرح حتى أبلغ مجمع البحرين أو أمضي حقبا. That Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, his high prophetic model through this is understood. Because Musa alayhi salatu wasalam on this journey was not alone. He was with his attendant, Yusha bin Nun, and usually when there's a person who has a youngster or someone who is under him, he usually does not consult with him. But rather this action of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam consulting with Yusha bin Nun shows us the high prophetic model and how the attendant in service to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is an important part of the journey as well. He's a crucial part to the party. He's a crucial individual to the party of two. That's why Musa alayhi salatu wasalam actually told his attendant in service that we are going and we're not going to stop. I am not going to stop until I read Majma' al-Bahrain, until I reach the place where the two seas meet. This teaches us a high prophetic model of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Right? And then we also learn that upon meeting Khadir alayhi salam, after their conversation, after their journey together had begun, Khadir alayhi salatu wasalam and Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, a question may arise about the two of them. Who comes higher in status? Who comes higher in status? There is no doubt in regards to the status of Musa alayhi salam. There is no doubt because he's a Nabi of Allah. He is known as Kalimullah. He is known as someone who has talked with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is known as someone who has conversated with Allah azza wa jal. And Musa alayhi salatu wasalam's name comes in the Quran al-Kareem more than any other prophet's name. So his status, his level is already secured. So when it comes to the comparison in between the two, without a doubt, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is higher in level and or status. Now if we look in this journey, inshallah this will be our discussion for today. If we look in this journey, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam experienced a series of tests. And such tests which came one after another. The first test being that Musa alayhi salam was commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take a fish. To take a fish with him on this journey. Now, there is a difference of opinion amongst commentators of Tafseer that there's no difference of opinion whether this fish was alive or not. But there is a difference of opinion amongst the scholars that was this fish separate from the food that they would partake in, or was this fish in actuality the very food that they had prepared for their journey? There's a difference and there's a split amongst the scholars that what was the case in regards to this fish. There are certain scholars who said that this fish was apart from their meals, apart from their meals that they had prepared for the journey. But some scholars say that no, this fish was actually the very meal that they prepared for this journey. And they actually partook in a portion of it. They actually ate a part of it. Right? And then the other question arises, or the other lesson we take, or the other description Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives of the miracle that took place with this fish. Whether it was part of their meal for their journey or not, whether it was separate from the food that they had prepared or not. But the way that this fish, when Musa alayhi salatu wasalam had fell asleep, the way that it made its way, فَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلَهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ saraba. The way that it took its way and made its way into the sea, and the word saraba means to actually make a tunnel into. So the way it made a tunnel, and as the tunnel started to form itself for the fish to make its way into the sea, this was a very unique and very interesting way. This was actually a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After this, when Yusha bin Nun had witnessed this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made him oblivious to reminding Musa alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made him forget. Right? That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not only did Musa alayhi salatu wasalam not remember, but his servant, the attendant who was there to aid Musa alayhi salam also did not remember to tell Musa alayhi salam. So so after the fish had leapt away, made its way to the sea, made its tunnel to the sea, and got into the ocean, that was the very place they were supposed to meet with Khadir alayhi salam. And when they met with Khadir alayhi salam, as we talked about how their journey began and how it ensued and what interactions they had with one another. Now comes the $1 million question. Who was Khadir alayhi salam? Who was he? Right? We've talked about the incident. We've talked about the inquiries of Musa alayhi salam, in which when he asked, that لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا or لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا نُكْرًا, right? That you've done a very, you've done something wrong, and he questioned the things that Khadir alayhi salam told him to not question. But the question arises for us, who was Khadir alayhi salam? So the scholars, they mention, and now in the Quran al-Kareem, there is no mention of the name of Khadir alayhi salam. There is no mention of the name of Khadir alayhi salam. But through Sahih al-Bukhari, through a hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari, we learned that his name was Khadir. Now the scholars, they mention as to why his name was, why he was named as such. That they mentioned that wherever he would sit, or wherever he would be present at, that area would turn into greenery. There would be grass that would grow under the area where he would sit. No matter how barren the land was, there would be grass under that area or greenery under that area that upon where he would sit. It would just turn green. And now the question arises on top of that, who he was he a prophet or not? Was he a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not? When we look at the actions that he committed, when we look at the steps he took, or within this journey, the things that took place, when we look at what happened, there are certain things which are completely against codified Sharia. Khidr alayhi salam, what did he do? He tore the plank off the ship that he was on. Is that allowed in Islam? Can a person go and vandalize, or vandalize is a very strong word, but we won't use it for, in general, a person go and vandalize someone else's property? No. Right? So no one can go and vandalize someone else's property. On top of that, can someone go and kill an innocent child? No. Can a person, for some work, take some type of compensation? If a person is under contract, or even if he, for example, if there's an individual who has his grass overgrown, and a company walks by, a lawn mowing company or landscaping company, they can approach the household, say that, listen, as per, for example, as per Virginia state law, your grass is not, up to standard. Let me do you a favor. I'll cut it for you, and I'll charge you this much. Right? I'll charge you this much. Or if there's a company which are contracted to do it, but the homeowner doesn't pay up. The homeowner doesn't pay up, but the company comes and does it anyway, or the homeowner does not call the company or the contractor. What will happen? The contractor that has a contract to come and cut the grass will come and cut the grass, but it's still billed the owner or homeowner. So anything that happened within this journey was against codified Sharia. So where did Khidr alayhi salatu wassalam get the orders to do this? Some could chalk it up to it being ilham, right? As the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have inspiration. Someone can chalk it up to that. But those certain inspirations will be never against the Sharia itself. So all evidence points to, all of the evidence within the story of Khadir alayhi salam points to him being a prophet. Because he had such divine inspiration, right? He had such divine inspiration, which could not have been done through a wali of Allah. Because the wali of Allah would not be told to do something, or would not get inspiration of something which would be against Sharia. So all evidence ultimately points to, and in conclusion comes to, Khadir alayhi salatu wasalam being a prophet of Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to act upon what it said. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallah bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.